All right. So I've been out of town, so I haven't been doing these videos as much. But DeMar DeRozan just got waived, and I think him getting waived will be interesting because of the type of player that he is and what his market could be. So I'll probably write something up about this. I'm almost done writing about the Raptors trade for Kawhi Leonard, moving through all these offseason moves, starting with the big ones. So if you haven't checked stuff I wrote about LaMelo Ball, the Lakers getting Walker Kessler, the Jalen Brown trade. If you haven't checked those out, definitely do. I think it's pretty good analysis, and it generally is my opinion on the matter because that's why you're writing it. But even if you don't just want someone's opinion, there is data and information to help you do your own research or whatever. But so yeah, DeMar DeRozan just got waived by the Sacramento Kings, and the main reason why he got waived is because while he had a 25.74 million-dollar salary, only 10 million of it was guaranteed. And I'm not exactly sure when the trigger dates for those guarantees were, but I'm sure it was approaching, and they're probably either trying to trade him, and every team probably was like, "You don't want him, so we'll just wait." But I think that $10 million is important because he was scheduled, or he was under contract, technically to potentially make 25 million. 10 million is guaranteed. So realistically, he's probably not the only motivator for DeRozan, but like realistically, he's probably going to want 15 million. And if that's all he wants, then they're he'll end up on like the fucking Brooklyn Nets, or maybe he'll end up back with the Chicago Bulls. But I think DeRozan probably will be fine getting that 10 million and maybe playing on a minimum for a year, seeing what materializes. But DeRozan's always been a very, very interesting player to me because his kind of what I like to say box score stats, his basic box score stats, have been excellent throughout his career. So this past season, age 36 season, he averaged 18.4 points per game, 4.1 assists, only 1.2 turnovers, shot 49.7% from the field, 52.7% on twos, and 32% on threes, but he took under two per game. So those are totally solid offensive numbers, and I think DeRozan currently is still a solid offensive contributor. He's not a guy that, like, if you have any ambitions, you want being a lead option. And the way his skill set plays out, he's not great as a third option. He's kind of right now, you'd say he's like best, his skill set, not maybe his talent level, but his skill set is best as a like a second option, someone that has the ball a fair amount, but isn't really a floor spacer. But they can do some self creation. He's great at getting to the free throw line still, and he doesn't even need to get all the way to the basket. So those are like valuable skills. He's also incredibly, incredibly durable. Like the dude just plays a piss ton of games, and he's played over 74 games every season from 2021 to the present. 2019-20 played 68 games in a 72 game season, 61 in another 72 game season, and then 77, 80, 74, 78, 20 or 60, then 79, 82, right? So he's played a ton of games, and he plays a ton of games, and he can play a ton of minutes, and there's that. I mean, he's a career 21.1 points per game scorer since 2013-14, his first All-Star season. He's averaged 23 points per game on, okay efficiency. And so DeRozan is a guy where his effective field goal percentage has generally been below league average, almost always below league average. He only has one season where it's been above league average. His rookie season, it was exactly at league average. but he's great at getting to the free throw line, and he hits his free throws at a very efficient clip. So his career true shooting percentage has been adjusted to league average. It was 2% better than league average this past season. He's going to give you league average efficiency buckets, which very useful, and it's why I think the best role for him going forward at this stage in his career is basically just be a sixth man that probably doesn't close that many games. Really be a guy who start the offensive engine comes out of the game. You bring him in, and you're just like, we can just run some offense through him, and he's going to get league average efficiency points, which is great from a bench unit, great from a bench player. But on top of that, like he is a pretty solid passer, right? Like a career 19.6 assist rate since that first All Star season. It's at 22.5%. And he's a very, 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 very low turnover player. His turnover percentage since 2020-21, sub 10% by a massive margin. It's what is it? 8.3%. That's super, super, super good. Now, part of that is he takes a bunch of shots, and like taking a bunch of shots will lower your turnover percentage. So I generally think when you want to look at players, just, for your own statistical, fun or analysis, I think turnover percentage, at least through basketball reference, is not a very good stat. You have to like kind of understand like how many field goal attempts they're taking, because that's really going to augment their baseline, because that's going to affect the denominator basically in a significant way. So I think the best way to look at turnovers is you kind of know a guy's usage, how much they have the ball, but really turnovers per 100 possessions, right? He's at 2.9 for his career. And he's at 6.0 assists per 100 possessions. Like when you factor in he's scoring 30.8 points per 100 possessions throughout his entire career, I mean, that's just slightly better than 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio with that type of scoring load. He's a low turnover player. So he is a fantastic player to have if you want a guy who can come in and make sure your bench offense is league average. And if he's like getting league average bench offense basically through one guy, is fantastic. Like you don't even need that much spacing around him. You don't need that much shooting around him. You put some defenders out there, just go out and let him cook. I think he could help pretty much any contender. Now it's going to come down to whether or not he sees himself in that role, because I mean, how many career points does this dude have? He's at 26,711 career points. Guys with that type of pedigree, that type of track record, we're coming off the season he just had, which is pretty good. Like they generally want to do a bit more than that. So that to me will be his market will shape up. And I think he could really like I said, like I think he could really, really, really help a good team, right? If San Antonio was like, hey man, come back here. We love you. Come off the bench, just make our bench nasty on offense. Like that'd be a good spot. Oklahoma City could use him, right? Like he adds a dimension that they don't have. And like without SGA, their offense kind of falls apart. And like he's not obviously as good as SGA, but like there are similarities between their offensive game in some capacity where it's like they're going to kill you in the mid range. They can generate free throws out of the mid range. They're low turnover players. Like I think he'd be great there. And they also have the defensive infrastructure to really insulate his defensive weaknesses, because basically that's been the big issue throughout his career is the offense has been pretty good. The points per game make it look better than it really is. But the defense has always been an issue. And this is the other reason why I think he's best coming off the bench is this guy's started basically every game of his career. He's come off the bench 12 times, and all of those came in his rookie season. This man has not started a game he's played in since 2010, the first half of 2010. Think about that. But his on-off net rating and even on-court net rating have not been great throughout his career. Now, some of that is he's played on some bad teams, but realistically, those Toronto teams he was on were good before he got traded for Kawhi. And then he went to San Antonio and played with I think LaMarcus Aldridge towards the end. But like those teams are solid. They made the playoffs. And then the Chicago teams made the playoffs, especially that first season, and made the play-in. So he hasn't been on like absolutely dreadful teams his whole career. And his on-court net rating, just like when he's been on the court, negative 0.5. Like for a guy who's that many career points, that many career All-Star appearances, get made 3 All-NBA teams, received MVP votes 3 different times, right? Like for a guy to have that little impact on like just the on-court stuff, like when he's out there, that kind of shows you how the defense and the way he plays offense isn't great for like, I think, a starting caliber offensive option. For a bench guy, that's fine, right? Like if you're like, you were to like transpose these, like what do you expect from bench production, those would be positive numbers probably. And then the on-off splits have always been awful throughout his career. It's negative 1.7. So his teams throughout his entire career have been 1.7 points per 100 possessions worse with him on the court. Now, like that doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means that I think in the context of starting games at the NBA level, he was never, clearly he was never as impactful as like you would think based upon the basic box score stats. It's like kind of one of those things where people will, if they like a player, they'll make excuses, but just like we have 17 seasons of this and the game is about outscoring your opponent. And when this guy's out there, his team is worse at that. Like that means something. If you don't want to believe that, that's fine. But it's kind of like the people that are like, I don't give a fuck about the on-off splits with Jaylen Brown. I'm like, well, like, how are the Celtics always so much better, or not so much, but how are the Celtics always better when he's not out there and he's supposed to be this super impactful player? It's not, doesn't mean these guys aren't good, doesn't mean they're not talented, but like how you play and how you create value matters and how it impacts the guys around you. And he doesn't have that type of style of game, but it can be valuable, I think, in a bench context. So I'm basically imploring DeRozan to take a minimum, as little money as he can, to go to a contender and come off the bench and provide awesome offense. I think if he goes to the right team, he'll win 6th man of the year, right? Like, because he's still really good at all that bullshit that he does. And like, I think in the bench capacity, he'll score a bunch of points, which really helps for 6th man of the year, because like, 6th man of the year is a dumb award because it's kind of just like bench points per game leader. A lot of times it's gotten a little bit better in recent seasons, but like there's still a pretty big anchoring effect there with the voting. Similar to like most improved, where it's like, what's most improved? It's like, well, it's the guy who increased their scoring the most, which usually just means they got a fuck ton more minutes. But yeah, so DeRozan, the reason why I just want to talk about him is that like he's one of these dudes, and it's similar to what I'm writing with Brandon Ingram. There are these guys who put up 20 points plus per game at about league average efficiency, and that's about all that they do. And we've been so conditioned to like view 20 points per game as being meaningful, and it's just not. Like it's really just not that meaningful of a stat. Like Jalen Green averaged 20 points per fucking game. Like ain't nobody think Jalen Green good. There are actually people, but they're wrong. And so it's kind of like an old school, because at the end of the day, it's like points per game. Like, it's why I kind of always push back on the like points. Like, obviously, if he gets past a certain point points per game, you're probably pretty fucking good because it's hard to score a bunch. But the reality is, like, the worst NBA offense this season had an offensive rating over, like, I think it was like 105, and teams play about 100 possessions. So that means the worst offense in the league still scoring 105 points. Like those points are coming from somewhere, and that offense is bad, right? So like the guys on that team are producing negative offensive value, and they're still getting to 105 points. So it's like, that's why the efficiency matters. And then more importantly, for these high volume guys, it's not just the efficiency, it's what you do with that efficiency, right? So like, I think a good example would be like Trae Young has never been particularly efficient around league average, but he's like the highest volume assist guy throughout his career. the way Trae Young's value on offense came about, and I don't think he's amazing, but he is a good offensive player. It's like the way his value came about is like he takes a bunch of shots, and through taking a bunch of shots at a league average clip, he's able to generate a ton of way more valuable passing creation. And that's why he's a beneficial offensive player. The scoring is just kind of like a feature of the playmaking and vice versa. Um, and yeah, and these players are interesting to me because, like, DeRozan has decent offensive advanced metrics, the decent offensive ones, and not so great defensive ones. But everyone knows that. Like, his peak of 4.1 offensive BPM is like good. 3.4 in his first season in Chicago. He was 2.1 in 2023-24, 1.2, 24, 25, and then 0.9 in 25, 26 on a pretty dreadful Kings team, right? Like, he can still go, like, if he can give you off the bench a zero point 0.5 offensive BPM as a guy who has a league average true shooting, 24 to 5 assist percentage. See that boost up because he gets to run more of the offense and he keeps that turnover percentage below 10%. Like, that is fantastic. So it'll be interesting to see what teams go after him. I think every contender will call him and be like, do you want to play for us on a minimum? We think we have a great role for you coming off the bench. But if DeRozan, wants to start and wants to get paid, he's going to actually just end up on a bad team. And so it's where he ends up will basically tell us what he values, or how he values himself. But, like, he's made a fuck ton of money and he's never won a championship. And, like, he was just in Sacramento where things didn't go so well. Like, I would hope that he's kind of just like, yeah, I want to go play for a good team. And, like, he's not so concerned about, playing the role in the way he wants, because, we see with guys like Russell Westbrook, like, if you want to have the role you want and you want to play the way you want, you have to fucking be really good, or those things have to be valued. And, like, it's not valued in the way I think they hope, the way the points per game probably makes them think it is. So, like, the Celtics, I think he'd be great with the Celtics. The Knicks, like, all of these contenders should be contacting him. I think Miami will 100% get involved. They lost Norm Powell. So, like, like, I mean, honestly, he might start for the Heat. I mean, I wouldn't love that because I think he's defensively kind of has to play quote unquote power forward, but be hidden on bad offensive power forwards. But, like, they could use that offensive creation for sure. Giannis had a great relationship in the pick and roll with Chris Middleton. I could see Middleton was a better 3-point shooter, but I could see DeRozan also, like, working pretty well in that capacity. So yeah, all of these teams that have these rosters in flux currently, they're trying to, like, flesh them out, will be, and that's a lot of the league right now, should be very interested in DeRozan on a minimum. And if they have any extra money, like, sure, go ahead and try to bring him in. But if I'm DeRozan, I'm just kind of looking at, like, what good team can offer me the best, not the biggest role, but the best role. Like, hey, you're our go-to bench guy. They have a good defense to insulate them, which also gives them a better chance of closing games. Because I do really think, like, if he were to end up on the Lakers, like, he's just not closing games with the Lakers. Like, it's just they don't have enough defense for him to be closing games next to Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, right? Like, you just need a bit more defensive solidity on the perimeter. Like, unless Walker Kessler, like, grows 4 inches and grows 2 more arms and he looks like a fucking Hindu deity, like, I just don't see them having any capability of keeping him or protecting against those other guys' defensive frailties. The Clippers, they just moved Kawhi Leonard and got Brandon Ingram. I'm writing about them a little bit with the Kawhi trade. Should go up after this pretty quickly. Like, maybe he wants to just go back to California. The Clippers, like, they're building, like, a weird team. So, like, he would make sense there. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, a weird team, of course he'd make sense. I'm trying to think who else. Like, the Nuggets, like, he's not what the Nuggets need, but they, like, definitely have been they've always been searching for a guy who can kind of keep things afloat when Murray and Jokic aren't out there, and maybe complement one of them when the other one is on the bench. I think he could make a lot of sense there. He's like, he's not more 3-point shooting, but he is creation, and like, just like the Nuggets had the best offense in like the league last season, and probably in terms of offensive rating, one of the best ever, maybe the best ever. So that would be interesting. The Rockets, I mean, with the way the Rockets play, honestly, like I could see like he's perfect for Ime Udoka, because Ime Udoka doesn't fucking coach offense, and just like go get bucket. Come on, guy. And DeRozan is one of the best at go get bucket. So I can see the Rockets being interested. But yeah, pretty much any team that's good needs to see if they can get DeMar DeRozan on a minimum contract. And if they can't, and he wants more, well then I don't know, man. Like I go have fun scoring 19 and a half points per game for the fucking Brooklyn Nets, or whatever the fuck it is, right? I mean, granted, I could see some teams that think that they're very close to the quote unquote relegation zone, like teams that project themselves as a bottom three team. Maybe he is worth 15 million to get from bottom three to the fourth worst record to get out of that relegation zone. So yeah, I think his market will be pretty solid, honestly. Now that thought just crossed my mind, like I would be, if I was a team like that, I'd be willing to pay $15 million. I'd be like, we'll make you whole. We'll get you that 25 million, DeMar. Make sure we don't finish bottom three, and be like, say no more, boss. I've been doing that my whole life. I've been making teams go from, I can make a team kind of just a little bit bad. So yeah, I'll eventually write something, hopefully about wherever he lands. And my fingers crossed it's a good team on a minimum deal, or maybe a bit more. Who knows? Who knows where the cap space is, or what money will open up based upon other moves. But this has a potential to be like actually an important move, where he goes in the right context.